Tonight at 6:44 p.m. Eastern Time, Venus will cross directly over Chiron. The goddess of love will touch the wounded healer in the sky, and what you buried in love will rise to the surface whether you are ready or not. This is not a gentle transit. This is not a soft, cosmic whisper about self-care and journaling. This is a direct encounter between everything you desire and everything that hurts when you try to reach for it. Venus represents what you love, who you love, how you love, what you find beautiful, what you value, what brings you pleasure. Chiron represents the wound that will not fully heal, the tender place you protect, the story you tell yourself about why love has been difficult, why you were not chosen, why it did not work out, why you are still alone, or still unseen, or still waiting for something that feels like it may never arrive. At 6:44 p.m. tonight, these two meet at the same degree of the Zodiac, 25 degrees and 25 minutes of Aries. And here is what you need to understand before this happens. This is the last time Venus and Chiron will meet in Aries for approximately 43 years. Chiron leaves Aries in June of this year and will not return until 2068. By then, most of us listening to this transmission will be in a completely different chapter of existence. Some of us will have left this world entirely. This is not a transit that repeats next year. This is not something you can postpone and catch the next cycle. The healing portal that opens tonight closes for 4 decades. Something brought you here at this precise moment. The question is whether you will walk through. Let me explain what is happening in the sky so you understand the mechanics of what you are feeling. Venus has been moving through Aries since early March, traveling through the sign of the warrior, the pioneer, the one who acts first and thinks later. Venus is not entirely comfortable in Aries. The goddess of beauty and harmony prefers Taurus and Libra, signs where she can take her time, cultivate pleasure, build relationships slowly. In Aries, Venus becomes impatient. She wants what she wants, and she wants it now. She initiates, she pursues, and she does not wait to be chosen. She chooses. Chiron has been in Aries since 2018, slowly moving through this sign over the course of 8 years. Chiron takes approximately 50 years to orbit the Sun, spending anywhere from 2 to 8 years in each sign depending on its elliptical path. In Aries, Chiron has been activating wounds around identity, around the right to exist, around the courage to be yourself in a world that often punishes authenticity. Tonight, Venus catches up to Chiron. The faster planet overtakes the slower one. They occupy the exact same degree at the exact same moment. In astrology, this is called a conjunction, the most powerful aspect 2 planets can make. Their energies do not just influence each other, they merge. They become temporarily indistinguishable. For one evening, love and wounding are the same thing. Beauty and pain share the same breath. The moon is in Cancer today, the sign of emotional memory, of family patterns, of the mother wound and the longing for home. Cancer moon amplifies everything you feel. It pulls you back to childhood. It reminds you of the first time love disappointed you, the first time you learned that wanting something did not guarantee receiving it. This lunar placement ensures that whatever rises tonight will not be abstract. It will be personal. It will have a face. It may have a name you have not spoken in years. The ancients understood that certain planetary meetings carried weight beyond ordinary days. In Babylonian tradition, Venus was Ishtar, the goddess who descended into the underworld to retrieve what had been lost. The myth tells us that Ishtar had to pass through 7 gates, and at each gate, she surrendered something: her crown, her jewels, her robes. By the time she reached the underworld throne, she stood naked and vulnerable, stripped of every protection. Only then could she reclaim what she sought. Tonight's transit echoes this descent. Venus approaching Chiron is the goddess approaching her wound without armor. The usual protections do not work here. The smile that deflects, the busy schedule that avoids, the story that explains why you are fine alone. At 6:44 p.m., those defenses become transparent. What lies beneath becomes visible, first to you, and then potentially to others. And the Byzantines depicted Chiron as the centaur who taught heroes, the one whose own wound could never heal, but who transformed that perpetual pain into wisdom that saved others. In Byzantine iconography, the wounded healer carried both vulnerability and mastery in the same form. The wound was not hidden or shameful. It was the source of his gift. When Venus touches Chiron tonight, you are being asked to consider what wound in your own heart has been trying to become a gift. What pain in your history of love has been waiting to transform into wisdom that could help not only you, but those who will love after you, those who are watching how you carry your story, those who are learning from your choices, whether you realize it or not. You may already be feeling the approach. Since yesterday or the day before, something may have been stirring. A memory surfacing without invitation. A dream featuring someone you thought you had forgotten. A sudden wave of loneliness that does not match your circumstances. A tightness in the chest, not anxiety exactly, but something more tender. The heart preparing to open where it has been closed. The body remembers before the mind names it. Venus rules the throat and the kidneys and the sense of touch. Chiron rules the places where we carry old pain, the joints that ache when weather changes, the spots where tension accumulates, despite every massage and stretch and therapy session. As these two approach conjunction, you may feel sensation in these areas, a lump in the throat when certain subjects arise, a dull ache in places that healed long ago but still remember. Pay attention to your hands today. Notice what you reach for. Notice what you pull back from. Venus in Aries wants to grab, to claim, to possess. Chiron reminds you of every time reaching led to rejection. The tension between reaching and withdrawing may play out literally in your body before it becomes clear in your emotions. Some of you will feel more emotionally raw than usual, closer to tears, quicker to react to small slights. This is not weakness. This is the wound rising to meet the healer. This is 43 years of accumulated Venus-Chiron energy in Aries, pressing toward one final expression before the cycle ends. Let it rise. Do not push it back down. What wants to surface tonight has been waiting a long time. Two voices speak today, though one speaks much louder than the other. Venus speaks first. She speaks of desire, of what you want from love, of what you have always wanted, but perhaps stopped admitting. Venus in Aries does not play coy. She asks directly, "What do you want?" Not what do you think you should want. Not what do you tell others you want, because it sounds reasonable. What do you actually want when no one is watching, when no one will judge, when the truth cannot be used against you? Venus tonight asks, have you given up? Have you settled for less than you wanted, because asking for more felt dangerous? Have you protected yourself so thoroughly that nothing can hurt you, but nothing can reach you either? Have you built a life that looks fine from the outside, but feels hollow when you lie awake at 3 in the morning? Chiron answers. Chiron does not answer with words. Chiron answers with memory. Chiron answers with the face of the one who left. Chiron answers with the moment you learned to stop asking. Chiron answers with the reason, the very first reason, you decided that wanting too much was not safe. The conjunction tonight is a conversation between desire and wound, between what you reach for and why you pull back, between the future you want and the past that taught you wanting was dangerous. Both voices are true. Both voices deserve to be heard. The healing happens not when one voice wins, but when both are allowed to speak and both are witnessed with compassion. Yesterday, Saturn passed through the heart of the sun. The great restructuring began. Your foundations were examined, and what was false began to crumble, while what was true was strengthened. Today, Venus passes over Chiron. The heart is examined. Not your structures this time, your vulnerability. Not what you have built, but what you have buried. Saturn asked what you have accomplished with your time on Earth. Venus and Chiron ask what you have loved and what loving has cost you. These 2 days are connected, structure and heart, achievement and intimacy, the external life and the inner life. Many people build impressive external structures precisely to avoid the Venus-Chiron question. The career becomes a fortress against loneliness. The busy schedule becomes a wall against vulnerability. The accomplishments become proof that you are valuable, because somewhere along the way, you stopped believing you were lovable. Tonight completes what yesterday began. Saturn cleared the false structures. Now Venus illuminates what has been hiding behind those structures. The wound you have been too busy to feel. The longing you have been too productive to acknowledge. The part of you that still waits, still hopes, still believes somewhere beneath all the protection that love might yet find you. Now I speak directly to each sign. Find yours and listen with your whole body. Notice where you feel recognition. That resonance is your message. Aries, this conjunction happens in your first house. This is as personal as it gets. Your wound around identity, around the right to exist as yourself, around being too much or not enough, rises tonight. The healing available is equally personal. You can reclaim parts of yourself you abandoned to be acceptable to others. Think back to the first time someone told you to calm down, to be less intense, to stop being so much. That moment planted a seed of shame around your natural fire. Tonight, Venus illuminates that seed and asks if you still want to carry it. You do not have to shrink anymore. You never did. Taurus, Venus is your ruler, and she meets Chiron in your 12th house of the unconscious. Dreams may be vivid tonight. Old relationships may visit in your sleep. Something you buried so deep you forgot it existed is asking to be remembered. This is the house of hidden grief, the losses you never fully mourned because you had to keep going. A love that ended without closure. A version of yourself that died quietly while no one noticed. Tonight, the veil thins between conscious and unconscious. What surfaces is not here to haunt you. It is here to finally be released. Gemini, the conjunction lights your 11th house of friendship and community. Wounds around belonging surface. The times you were excluded. The groups that rejected you. The friend who chose someone else. Tonight asks whether you have found your true people, or whether you are still performing to fit in somewhere that was never home. You have spent years adapting, becoming what each group needed you to be. Somewhere along the way, you lost track of who you actually are when you are not performing. Tonight, that authentic self asks to be remembered. The right people will not require you to disappear. Cancer, your 10th house of career and reputation is activated. With the moon in your sign, this hits double. Where have you abandoned your heart's calling for security? What would you build if you were not afraid of failing publicly? The wound here often involves a parent who projected their unlived dreams onto you, or criticized your ambitions until you learned to hide them. You have been playing it safe, building what was expected. Tonight asks what you would create if no one was watching, if no one could judge, if failure was impossible. That vision is not fantasy. It is memory. It is who you were before you learned to be afraid. Leo, the 9th house of belief receives this conjunction. What have you stopped believing in? Not religion necessarily, but the bigger stories. Love at first sight, soulmates, destiny, the idea that life has meaning beyond survival. Have you become cynical to protect yourself from disappointment? There was a time when you believed in magic, when the world felt enchanted, when possibility stretched infinite in every direction. So heartbreak narrowed that vision. Disappointment taught you to expect less. Tonight, Venus asks if you are ready to believe again, not naively, but wisely, with eyes open and heart willing. Virgo, the 8th house of deep bonds and shared resources, wounds around intimacy and trust. The times you gave too much, the times you were betrayed, the ways you learned that vulnerability leads to pain. Tonight asks what it would take to trust again, truly trust, not the guarded version you have been offering. You have perfected the art of appearing open while keeping your core protected. You share selectively. You love carefully. You never fully surrender, because full surrender once destroyed you. But partial love yields partial fulfillment. Tonight illuminates what complete trust would require, and whether you are ready to risk it. Libra, Venus rules you, and she meets Chiron in your 7th house of partnership. This is your axis, your wound, your gift. Everything about how you do relationship is illuminated tonight. The patterns you repeat, the types you choose, the way you lose yourself to keep the peace. You have abandoned yourself in love more times than you can count. You have swallowed your truth to maintain harmony. You have stayed years past expiration because leaving felt like failure. Tonight asks who you would be in partnership if you stopped abandoning yourself. What would relationship look like if you stayed whole? Scorpio, the 6th house of daily routines and health. Have you been neglecting your body while focusing on survival? The wound here is often about not feeling safe enough to relax, to receive care, to be tended to, rather than always tending. You are the one others lean on. You are the strong one. You hold space for everyone else's collapse, while your own body stores the tension. Your shoulders carry weight that is not yours. Your jaw clenches against words you did not say. Tonight asks what it would feel like to be held instead of holding, to receive instead of always giving, to let someone else be strong while you finally rest. Sagittarius, the 5th house of creativity and joy and romance. When did you stop playing? When did love become serious business instead of adventure? The wound here often involves creativity that was criticized or passion that was shamed. Someone told you to grow up. Someone told you art was not practical. Someone told you that kind of love only exists in movies. You believed them. You traded wonder for wisdom, but the trade left you emptier than you expected. Tonight, Venus reminds you that play is not childish. Joy is not irresponsible. The heart that stopped playing did not mature. It just went numb. Capricorn, the fourth house of home and family, the mother wound, the father wound, the ancestral patterns around love that you inherited without choosing. Tonight they surface, not to torture you, but to finally be seen and released. You are carrying patterns that began generations before your birth. The way your grandmother loved, the way your father withheld, the things that were never said at the dinner table. These patterns live in your nervous system. They shape your choices without your permission. Tonight you can see them clearly, perhaps for the first time. And what can be seen can finally be changed. Aquarius, the third house of communication and siblings and early education. Words that wounded. Things that were said to you before you had defenses. Messages you absorbed about whether your voice mattered, whether your thoughts were welcome, whether you were smart enough or interesting enough. A sibling who overshadowed you, a teacher who dismissed you, a parent who interrupted every time you spoke. These early experiences taught you that your words had no weight. Tonight, Venus illuminates those old messages and asks if you still believe them. Your voice matters. It always did. The people who silenced you were wrong. Pisces, the second house of self-worth and resources. The wound around value. Do you believe you deserve what you desire? Do you ask for fair compensation in work and in love? Or do you give yourself away because somewhere you learned your needs were too much? You have accepted crumbs when you deserved feasts. You have said yes when everything in you screamed no. You have undercharged and over-delivered because being needed felt safer than being valued. Tonight asks you to name your worth, not your market value, your soul value, the price of your time and energy and love. Then asks if you have been accepting payment that matches. Here is what to do with this sacred window. Before 6:44 p.m., create space. Cancel what can be canceled. Minimize obligations. This is not a night for distraction. This is not a night for numbing. If you fill every moment with noise and activity, the healing cannot reach you. Venus and Chiron need your attention, at least for an hour, at least for the window around the exact conjunction. At 6:44 p.m. or within 30 minutes of that time, sit quietly. You can light a candle if that helps you focus. Place one hand on your heart. Close your eyes. Breathe slowly, and ask yourself this question. Then wait in silence for whatever rises. The question is, what do I still want that I stopped admitting I want? Don't answer from your mind. Do not answer with what sounds reasonable. Let the answer rise from your chest, from your gut, from the body that has been holding this truth longer than your mind has been willing to acknowledge it. The answer may come as an image, a name, a feeling, a memory, a single word. It may bring tears. Let them come. After the answer arrives, ask one more question. Well, what would I need to believe about myself to reach for this again? This second question is where Chiron enters. The wound is not really about the external thing you want. The wound is about the belief that formed when you stopped reaching. I am not lovable. I am too much. I am not enough. I am destined to be alone. I do not deserve this. That belief is what needs healing tonight. not the circumstances, the belief. Write down whatever comes. Keep the paper. Read it again in 1 week. Something will have shifted. The portal closes after tonight. Not immediately. The energy will linger for a day or two as Venus separates from Chiron. But the exact alignment, the precise moment when love and wound occupy the same point in the sky, that happens once. At 6:44 p.m. tonight, for the last time in Aries until 2068. From 43 years from now, most of us will be elders if we are still here at all. The loves we knew, the wounds we carried, the healing we chose or avoided, all of it will have played out. The person you are tonight will be a distant memory, a photograph, a story someone tells about who you used to be. What story do you want them to tell? She finally admitted what she wanted. He stopped pretending he did not need connection. They opened their heart again, even after everything. They chose healing over protection. They let themselves be seen. Or, she never dealt with it. He kept everyone at arm's length until the end. They built a fortress and called it independence. They protected themselves so well that nothing and no one could reach them. Both stories are possible. Both begin with tonight's choice, to feel or to numb, not to open or to guard, to let the wound rise and be witnessed, or to push it back down for another 43 years you may not have. The sky has delivered its message. The goddess has touched the wounded healer. Something you buried in love is rising now, whether you feel ready or not. Your next step writes what follows.